Welcome back to the Bat Chat. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi.
And today we're talking about the follow-up to Night of the Ninja. It's Day of the Samurai. Because you see, ninjas are like dishonorable things, and samurai or not, so day and night. You see what they did there?
Yeah,
you see what they did there, Steve?
Clever.
Yeah. So anyway, we're back to talking about this ninja guy from Bruce Pass that had a lot to do with his going off and becoming Batman. And surprisingly, this is one of those where I think the follow-up is kind of better than the first one.
No, I agree. We enjoyed Night of the Ninja well enough. It was just kind of a bare bones story, though. This one's got a little bit more meat to it, so it'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I think so too. If you want to watch the episode with us, of course, as always, we're going to watch the episode and talk about it. And you can get your DVDs if you have them, or if you got Amazon Prime, they've got it there. And you go to, make sure that you're watching the correct episode. Make sure you're watching Night or Day of the Samurai. If you watch Night of the Ninja with this, it's going to be a very different experience. And get it past the menus, get it to timestamp 0, and get ready to press play when I say now. Are you ready? Good sir.
I'm all set.
All right, here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
I wonder if Nolan has any nostalgia for these episodes since he made Batman a Ninja.
It's a really good question. I couldn't help but think, and I'm sure a lot of people would, I couldn't help but think about the Nolan movies when you get that line, you would have made a great ninja.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is really the only place I've seen Batman be a 100% ninja outside of the Nolan films.
Yeah, and even here, he's resisting that idea. In the Nolan films, he is a straight-up ninja, and he wants to kind of change what that means, sort of, right? Like,
yeah.
Like he wants to take that training and background and use that to fuel something different, a different kind of crusade. But here, it's more, no, I wanted to be a samurai in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, the Nolan movies actually have an interesting parallel going on if you think about the evolution from ninjas to samurais, and you go from Batman being a ninja to kind of the honorable duel thing by the end of Rises. Although I'm not sure if any of that's intentional.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not. How much of this kind of ninja stuff is in comics?
Not a lot, really. I mean, every time we go back to Bruce Wayne's training prior to Nolan, it usually jumps back and forth between like ritualistic magic stuff or Bruce Wayne going and learning about like straight up martial arts and straight up like assassinations and things like that. Like most of his teachers are either full blown criminals or Yoda like sages.
Nothing in between.
Pretty much no. Yeah, like I don't remember anything in the comics where like he has like an ordinary human being teach him how to be an ordinary human being.
They need to make a Batman like a 2D fighter that has this guy in it.
Oh, that'd be fun. Just a DC Universe fighting game like that in general would be kind of fun. Like
well, I mean, I guess we already have one with Injustice, but it'd be cool to have one that's more obscure Batman characters.
Yeah, because then the fighting mechanic would make a little bit more sense. Superman can't punch out Batman.
Yeah, you just don't have anybody with those kind of abilities. You probably leave Clayface out of that one.
Yeah, you'd leave Clayface out of that one. You might leave Killer Croc out of that one.
Yeah. You could get away with that more, but we'll have to talk about the touch of death and all of that.
Oh yeah, that's a comic book thing.
I gotta say, oh really? I gotta say it's neat. I didn't notice this that they set that up with him hesitating, like he's got his finger like this right over her when he knocks her out.
Yeah.
And he like hesitates and then decides. I guess maybe the idea is that he almost did a death touch or whatever, and then he decided against it. But then I don't know if that makes a lot of sense because it seems like he kidnapped her to start a plot. But he does put his hand up like that, so.
Yeah, I think part of that is just, I think we complained about this when we talked about Night of the Ninja, where it just would be more helpful to get more of Kyodai Ken's backstory in general.
Yeah.
And like know where he's coming from and why he's got the grudges he's got. Because other than that, the episode works pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
hey, look, Fruit Ninja.
Yeah. The touch of death thing is in the comics quite a bit. The most recent stuff is when you go into the first story arc of Batman and Robin, where Damian learns the touch of death from Ducard's son. And Ducard was one of Bruce Wayne's old teachers who shows up quite a bit in like Suicide Squad and Checkmate and those kinds of books. And he has a touch of death thing that Bruce Wayne, I don't think he ever learns it, or he learns it and never uses it. It's something like that.
So everything about that scene where he's kidnapped her is hilarious.
Yeah.
First of all, he takes his mask off like it's a big reveal who it is. It's like, well, he's wearing the same outfit he had before. We all know who that is if we've seen that episode. And if we haven't seen that episode, that's not much for a review. Oh, scary guy with a goatee. Oh no. But the other thing is when he starts laughing like a hysterical supervillain, that's just hilarious. Like, why is he doing that?
Hey, wait a minute.
He's like, I have a plot.
Wait a minute. There is a follow-up to this episode that I just remembered.
There's another one?
There's a Batman Beyond episode.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, remember Curse of the Cobra, where Bruce sends Terry to learn from one of his old friends? And Terry learns how to fight? It's this girl.
Okay, that's crazy. So it turned into a trilogy ultimately?
Yeah, it's that girl. I'm just remembering that. Yeah.
I think it's easy to watch that and not remember that that's who that is, because these never stuck with me that hard. I mean, like certain images from them, but that's really cool. But I mean, certain images from them, especially him and Batman circling each other. That's always the thing that with that music.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool
they don't bring that music back, and I don't like that. They started to do the circling thing, but I don't think they bring that music back. And I was like, shucks. Yeah, why is Alfred wearing a Captain Boomerang robe?
I don't know. I was about to say the exact same thing.
He has a nightgown that's Captain Boomerang.
This lends lots of credence to the theory that all of Batman's villains are just Alfred in disguise.
You can't tell me that in a DC thing you make a robe that looks like that and you're not thinking about Captain Boomerang. Although this is before a lot of those characters became as known and mainstream as they are now, but it seems like a really odd coincidence that you would accidentally make a Captain Boomerang robe.
It's perfect colors and everything. It's a little bit odd. I kind of like the way this flashback is animated, where it looks kind of hazy.
Well, first of all, unlike the flashback from the previous episode we did, it doesn't take up a quarter of the episode.
That's true. This is like 30 seconds.
And it feels necessary. It's like you could have just Bruce explaining this stuff, but it works to see it.
I know it not fits with the genre style, like martial arts movies and Old Masters and stuff.
Yes, and importantly, he's not explaining it to a person that would know it already and was there.
Alfred, remember that time that I just got home? Let's sit here and talk about that time that we were both there.
Although it would be funny if it was like Dark Knight Rises and Alfred was explaining this to Bruce.
Alfred just has access to all the information.
Alfred just knows all this stuff, yeah.
I always like the image of Bruce Wayne looking out into the rain.
Me too.
That's just something about that looks really cool to me. It's almost like Bruce Wayne with the flashlight in his mouth for you.
Okay, yeah. I like that the artifact or MacGuffin in this story is knowledge.
Yes. Yeah.
That we're not running after some kind of generic amulet or magical trinket or something. It's this guy has the knowledge of this ancient fighting style that was too dangerous to teach him. When he dies, that knowledge goes with him.
Yeah.
And that also feels very kung fu movie to me.
Yeah, and I think that's partly why I like it, is that I grew up watching stuff like that. But I also really like, and we'll talk about the identity stuff the more we go into it, but I like that Bruce Wayne doesn't say Kyoto Ken knows I'm Batman. He says that he knows that we are the same person. Like, he makes it a very clear distinction that no matter how much it's true that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same guy, in his mind he's still trying to find a way to circumvent that.
I also like that we set up the question of whether or not Batman is an honorable figure.
Yeah.
with his when he suggests to the sensei, oh, let's just take a fake map, and he's like, that's not the honorable thing to do. And we always talk about how Batman will cross certain lines, and sometimes that seems necessary, and that's why you need him over just the police and that kind of thing. But by the end of the episode, we have this very positive idea that we got this optimism that overall Batman really is an honorable figure, and that he'll do those sorts of things sometimes when he thinks that it's necessary, but he never goes too far, and he doesn't realize just how honorable he is in the first place.
And to be fair, I like that idea a lot. I just don't think we needed that final line where he says, "If you see Batman, tell him I have a great respect for him."
Okay.
I think that's way too on the nose. I mean, I like that we can put that together without that line.
No, I don't think we need that line either. I didn't even think of that. No, that's a good point. But I do think the whole when we get to the end, the whole is Batman more of a ninja or a samurai, and then spelling out no, you've always been a samurai. I think that works okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, it's also just like knowing your audience of not everyone knows the difference, and so that's also all
Sure,
right.
yeah.
I just don't need us to verbally confirm his master's respect for him when we could already see that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Bruce making, I mean, you're right. The line where he says we're the same person is good, but he's making a big deal out of he must know that Batman and I, or that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person. I thought we made that pretty clear in the previous episode
I think we did.
that he knew that, and they treat it more like, maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but I feel like this episode treats it like Bruce is putting that together here.
I don't remember off the top of my head because he beat Kiyotaiken as Bruce Wayne, but they first met as Batman in the opening of that episode. So I don't remember if he figured it out along the way.
Well, and I don't know that they spell it out, but I just, for my money, I thought they made it pretty clear that he was putting it together because of the fighting style and stuff. And then here it's like he knows we're the same, and I don't think it's reminding us that he knows that. I think it's like him going, oh, you know what? He probably knows that.
Yeah. No, you're
I
right.
don't know. It's not a big deal, but
That might be something I would have to watch these episodes back to back and see if that progresses well or not. Also, just a second ago, Batman standing up with his hands on his hips is hilarious.
I think what makes this a really good follow up is that it is sufficiently bigger and goes. And I mean, you don't have to always have that. Obviously, it's about the storytelling and progression of character. But it feels necessary in the sense that we didn't go real far with all of the ninja and samurai stuff, and going and even including setting in landscape. Like,
Right.
it's really cool that bringing this back, we're taking the opportunity to do like a big volcano thing, and it feels like a really good sequel.
And the atmosphere is quite a bit different. Like, it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
we're in the same city anymore because we're not, and it's very tricky to do that in animation sometimes.
No, it doesn't feel like we're repeating ourselves at all. It feels like we're taking this to its furthest conclusion and building on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat because these episodes weren't that far apart either.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been like 5
7 or 8
episodes since.
Yeah.
I also really like that the scroll falls apart when he touches it a little bit earlier. I think that's a cool touch.
Yeah. Huh. He used a touch of death on it, Steve. It's because of the way he poked it. He hit a nerve on the scroll. Obviously, the whole the whole like touching people in a certain place that has different effects. It's a little bit silly the way it's handled because it's not really about pressure points or anything. And there's we'll have a point later where Batman's talking about it, and he's like I have no idea where the touch of death is. It could be on your leg. I'm like, I don't know about that. I have a really hard time imagining. I mean, maybe cutting off circulation in a certain place or whatever, but it wouldn't be instantaneous. I can't see you poking somebody in the leg and they die immediately.
No, that's true. That's just another one of those like martial arts movie cliches where you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
Like that's in Bruce Lee movies
okay.
all the time. I think they explained a little bit earlier about like key lines and stuff, but they never go too much more in depth than that. So I guess I
No.
can still kind of see it, especially in this universe.
It works better than you can't read in a dream.
Yeah, no, it works a lot better than that. Um, it's also good
This,
because they don't harp on it too much. Like we don't need time explaining with a touch of death. It's just assume it's out there and let's tell the story based on that.
the atmosphere in this episode and just the general tone, as we were talking about earlier, is interesting because, like you said, it feels more like a Batman thing because we've had Nolan go to this place, but before this, especially, it feels almost more like a Wolverine thing.
Yeah, you're right. Especially after we saw the Wolverine come out, and then the Chris Claremont, Frank Miller story that it was based on. Like
Yeah,
Wolverine's got a
which
really
was
interesting history with samurais and
which was
ninjas.
before this, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, and he's got that same kind of honor code thing, and finding that line between ninja and samurai, and the dark side and the light side of martial arts.
Was that adapted in the '90s X-Men show?
I don't think it was. I think there was a little bit of stuff that called to it. I think yeah, I think some of the Japanese martial arts stuff was there because you had Yuriko and stuff.
Yeah, I know Silver Samurai was in the show, so I'm not positive they did the whole story or not, though.
Well, they did the love. They did the. They did. I think there was some background with Yuriko, and then she comes back.
Right. Okay, I just out of curiosity, because then if you saw those
But I
two
haven't
shows
seen that in
back to back,
forever.
yeah.
Yeah, I may be remembering that completely wrong. It's been a while since I've watched that, but
Kyodaken's really loving kidnapping people, isn't he? Like every
yeah,
plan he has is just let me kidnap whoever's in my vicinity.
yeah, and you could say that that's all right because he's like really predictable and he's too full of himself and he thinks he's gonna win with the same plot over and over again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is an irritating comic cliche that we've got to constantly have people get kidnapped. At least they're not all girls, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at least this time it's Alfred. So
It's girls and old men. But it's good to have Alfred, actually involved in a plot.
yeah. I also
And this is
like
gonna
how
sound
much of this
awful,
is just
but
Bruce Wayne over Batman action.
yeah, and it really works. Well, and you need that because again of the identity questions and having him not have the cowl on the whole episode. It helps you really focus on that and bring that to the forefront, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it almost leads more credence to the theory that in this universe, it's not that there's a separation between Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's that it's entirely Batman and Bruce Wayne is the facade.
Yeah.
Because we don't get any of Bruce Wayne's quote unquote phoniness throughout this episode. Like he's genuine all the way through, but he's also very Batman.
But what I like about it is that he's not doing his like gruff Batman voice through the whole thing either.
Yeah,
So
true.
he's finding this midpoint, and I liked it in both of these episodes. I think probably more than most anywhere else in the series. You're getting this sense of and Mask of the Phantasm, but the sense of the evolution of Bruce Wayne to Batman.
Yeah,
Where you're seeing his past and his present simultaneously, where he's kind of coming together more as a fully fleshed out person. Where I mean, I agree with you that he's kind of fully Batman, but I think it's also he's this amalgam between them. It's more complicated than just Bruce Wayne is the Mask, I think.
yeah, that's true. And I mean, the closer and closer we get to what he eventually becomes in Justice League, we can see the building blocks for that here, where he's just Batman all the time. I also really think that part of why these early episodes work is that we get to see Kevin Conroy's voice evolve. Like,
Yeah.
we get to see more and more of the separation between how he plays Bruce Wayne versus how he plays Batman, and it stops just being one is gruffer than the other, and it really feels like a different voice. This fight's really good too.
Yeah, and it's also really cool that again we've got Batman and Bruce Wayne simultaneously here with his taking the mask off, and Kyoto is like we don't need to hide behind masks.
Yeah.
And I love that line. This is a poor choice for battleground. We shouldn't be fighting in a volcano. I don't think you could fight on a volcano like an erupting volcano. I think the fumes would be too much.
Yeah.
But...
Which is something Avatar: The Last Airbender did really well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's an episode where a person is literally trying to fight a volcano, and it's very well done.
That's funny.
I'm not sure if you've seen all that show, but it's really good.
I've never watched that, but this is also kind of a martial arts cliche, right?
Oh yeah.
The fighting in a volcano,
Oh
and
yeah, totally.
it's the end of
Uh,
Star Trek 3.
oh yeah, you're right. That is this. This is a nice overreaction, by the way.
Now this is kind of interesting because this is that blend of the more ninja sensibilities and the samurai sensibilities, where technically I don't think the samurai, I mean I don't think that the sensei would care for Bruce's cheat and deception there.
Yeah, because then he comes back and sucker punches him basically.
Yeah. Well, and he pretends like it actually happened, like the touch actually happened, and he cheated, with the thing. He basically pulls a Back to the Future 2, or Back to the Future 3, and has
Yeah.
he's put something
Uh,
under his chest. But you would expect Batman to already have padding there. I'm just saying.
and I mean, I guess to be fair to the samurai way of doing it, if Kyoto touched him in that spot and Bruce didn't have a reaction at all, he'd be equally surprised, and Bruce could still have gotten the upper hand.
That's a good
So it almost
point.
wasn't
Yeah.
necessary to do this.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But I think the point that it's trying to make is that is that things are just more complicated than that. Like if you sometimes a little bit of deception is unfortunately kind of necessary. Like Batman is not a black and white thing.
Right. And I mean, we get that a little bit earlier with the fake map and stuff. And I like this here where Bruce wants him to hop over, but Kyoto is okay with dying.
Yeah.
And that whole fight on the volcano when they were in silhouette and stuff, like all that's done really well.
Yeah, it looks great.
Um,
And we've been looking at some really not so great animation with this show, and it's nice to get back to pretty good animation.
Especially because so much of this episode is brushed over in like orange and red. So it
Yeah.
automatically looks a little bit awkward, but they do a really good job with it.
Bruce Wayne has kind of a real character arc in
Yeah.
this episode, which I really appreciate, because you don't get that a lot in this show, and it's not just your standard Batman refusing to change thing. It's him discovering something about himself.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting. And I kind of wished that the show did more of Bruce Wayne revisiting his training and seeing how far he's come.
Yeah, because like as the writers of this show are exploring it, they seem to be just happening upon really interesting ideas that are inherently in the concept of Batman and who he is. Like the more they explore it for themselves, the more the show is defining this character.
And importantly, they're in the right zeitgeist for that stuff. No one's really talking about Bruce Wayne's backstory, and then you get into the 90s, and you have Bruce Wayne trying to relearn who he is after Nightfall. And then you have
Yeah.
this show, which is like quote unquote definitive Batman, that has these episodes that fill in the gaps of his training. So if there was ever a time to do a series based on his training, this would have been it.
And we wouldn't have gotten to Batman Begins with obviously just with the production history, but I mean like just idea wise, we wouldn't have had let's tell the backstory of how he becomes Batman in the first place with Begins if it weren't for this show.
Yeah.
Which set the kind of the groundwork for that. And I think I've read interviews and background stuff with Nolan where this was kind of his Batman also, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think this was his big thing, and then he wanted to add like a Blade Runner feel to it by the end. Because I think he made
Yeah,
everyone sit down and watch that movie before they filmed.
that's right. But I mean, I think this is the Batman that he grew up with.
Probably. I'm not sure how old Nolan is, but it's probably he either had the tail end of some of the Adam West stuff, but mostly this is what he would know.
That's what I remember reading about, but I mean, it's been a little while since I've read that. But the last thing I wanted to mention is just the idea that Batman is inherently compassionate,
Yeah.
and that he doesn't even think about it. And like I like that somebody had to the sensei at the end had to spell out for him that Batman is closer to a samurai than a ninja because you tried to save your opponent, and that's just a thing Batman always does. He doesn't even think about it.
Yeah, Batman's got an honor code. I mean, the whole no killing rule is by itself kind of along the lines of what a samurai would believe. So he doesn't give himself enough credit in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Where there is some deception, but he has a line that he doesn't cross.
Right.
And he's almost too hard on himself.
Right. Yeah. And I like that, especially because it's early on Batman. He's still trying to figure out who he is, like you said earlier.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't think about that with the show very much. Early on Batman. But I guess it is because we are meeting most of the villains in the show the first time we see them for the first time Batman's ever dealt with them.
And also just looking retrospectively, like this being the earliest start of the DC animated universe, and seeing Bruce Wayne get
Yes.
older as that franchise gets bigger.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, that's cool with Kevin Conroy's voice aging.
Yeah, exactly. It happened very naturally all the way through.
Like I said, I never think about those, but that's solid.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's one of those episodes I go back to from time to time. I still like it.
Well, everybody, thanks always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Bat Chat, and we'll be with you again next week for the follow-up to the first Man-Bat episode, and what we've decided is the end of a trilogy for Langstrom. Terror in the Sky, which is very clearly, as we get into it, trying to be a direct sequel to On Leather Wings.
Yep, and also another one based on a comic, so that'll be fun.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, looking forward to it, Steve. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Steve Maxey.
See you next week.